Okay. Is everybody ready? Okay. Oh, we have 3 contentions and a counterplan. Huh? Well, so 3 contentions and 1 counterplan. We're just, yeah, exactly. My brain took a couple seconds to thinking in Russian. Sometimes I do that. Okay. It's really bad, I know. So everyone's ready now?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Oh. Sorry about that. My brain's glitching up. It's like a bad computer. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a brief roadmap of what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to give our counterplan, talk about our 3 contentions, then move on to my opponent's two contentions, and refute the topicality of their plan. So our counterplan is that rather than just providing community college for students who have a 2.5 GPA or above, we are going to rather increase Pell Grant funds to community and the way that we're going to get these funds is by using the funds allocated originally to community college and just put those towards Pell Grants, which are essentially grants that cover everything related to education. So this includes like books, room and board, and food as well. The reason we're doing this is because it targets the right students who are actually motivated to learn rather than just providing a whole, like an influx of money just for community college. And we're going to specify a little bit more with our contentions of this plan as well. So our first contention is that the increase of graduates will decrease the value of the degree. So according to the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this is a true statement that the increase of graduates is going to decrease the value of the degree. So the uniqueness is that as it is now, like in the status quo with students paying tuition individually, there are not enough jobs on the job market to support this. And so the link is that only 27% of U.S. jobs require a degree, and the U.S. Census Bureau shows that 47% of workers have an associate's degree or higher. So this means that 20% of people don't have jobs but are totally qualified for their jobs. And so as a result, there are so many people who are qualified who have gone through this college system, super qualified, can do a lot of jobs. There just aren't enough jobs to support this. And so as a result, we risk the impacts of normalizing the community college degree to the point where it is going to become worthless. 14.9% of the U.S. population has a college degree, but they are not able to adequately apply their skills to the labor market because of the fact that there are not enough jobs to support their skills and such. And so the impact of this is that the number of educated students will only increase if we enact a plan like this, and that means that there are going to be less jobs, which will essentially cause more people to become impoverished. And here is the reason for this. The reason that more people are going to become impoverished as a result of this plan is that students who originally didn't plan on going to college are now going to have this option of going to college. So rather than starting a job in, like, for example, construction, something that they can do with the skills they already have, instead of this, they're going to go through college, most likely face worse education due to overcrowded classrooms, and they're just going to waste their time in college, probably drop out because the motivated people would have found a way to get to college originally. And so we're going to see more dropouts and people who essentially are going to go in poverty because rather than seeking jobs first, they go through college, which at the end of the day, as we've proved, isn't going to help them because of the fact that there are just not enough jobs on the job market. So now moving on to our second contention, the factors of free education. So our uniqueness is that in the status quo, people who have to pay for college, they put down money as a commitment. This plan is going to provide financial assistance, which this plan basically it provides financial assistance, and as the affirmation has stated it, which I'm going to explain how it doesn't really help the right crowd. So this type of a plan is going to basically make it so that anybody can go to college no matter what, put down no commitment of that they're not going to slack off. And so for 2 reasons, this type of a plan isn't going to work. So one, it is because it's going to basically make it so that the right crowd of people crowd of people who are motivated to go to community college and put down an investment are going to get a lower quality education as a result. And second is that it allows for an influx of enrollment, but graduation rates are likely to stay the same in terms of percentages. But because there's going to be an influx of students, there are going to be more graduates, which means that it's going to crowd the labor market as there are already not enough jobs. Also, we'd like to state that community college tuition funding in itself is not cost prohibitive. So according to the Institute of Higher Education, books alone can cost up to 40% of college expenditures, and this is the reason why, rather than funding the plan, we need to fund the counter plan, because Pell Grants are these grants that cover everything related to education, so we can ensure that the motivated students can come to college to learn, and it really does target the right crowd of lower income students who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford education. But we know that with Pell Grants, because an application is involved and this is putting down a commitment, we know that those people are going to essentially follow through with their college. And the impact is that the impact of like a lower quality education as would be reached by this plan because of the greater influx of students is that we are going to have, as we've stated before, an extremely overblown labor market with people who don't have a way to like get a job because there aren't enough jobs in the labor market. So our third one is that there's no positive impact of this. So in the status quo, teens are not equipped to enter community college. So nearly 2/3 of students are not proficient in reading and math. And according to Forbes magazine, 60% of kids aren't ready for college. The link of this is that if we have to fund community college for high school students, we're just essentially going to be funding high school all over again, which is something that we cannot afford to do with this economy. The impact of this is that we fund something all over again, this high school process, especially when kids they don't even have remedial skills, is that we're going to depress the economy because we're going to put such a tax on community colleges that's not going to repay us back in the future, and this is just something we can't afford to do. So now onto our opponent's case. So our opponent's first advantage of the economy, they basically stated that that qualified, like that people are going to become more qualified, work better jobs in STEM and stuff. However, community college education won't give people those types of jobs that the affirmation is saying they will. Community college either does four-year university prerequisite courses, or what it does is technical training such as veterinary school, which is not a STEM job, so this should not flow through. Second, they talk about an impact of resource wars and the economy collapsing. However, they provide no link, so this should not flow through either. On their second advantage of soft power, they basically say that like China is going to become a hegemon and that U.S. soft power is going to decrease. And the only way to remedy this is through funding community college. However, we would like to say that the plan is not going to do this because this plan is going to cause an influx of students and will decrease the value of a degree and the economy as well as a result. And so this is why, if anything, China would, or if anything, this is why we lose soft power. Also, we'd like to state that the plan specifying high school graduates, this plan should not work because specifically specifying community college students like as high school graduates takes a lot of ground away from community colleges, as a lot of community colleges provide technical training that doesn't necessarily need a high school degree, but rather can be used with other qualifications. And so for all of these reasons, I strongly urge you to vote in favor of the negation of this resolution. Thank you. So, y'all ready? Okay, so keep very, very, very detailed.
Hit that start button when you're done with your math.
Okay, so to give a brief roadmap of what I'm going to be talking about during this speech, first I will be going over our two advantages, and then I will be going over their. Okay, so first, on advantage one, first of all, we would just want to clarify that we never said community college, we just said college. I'm not sure whether that will be like a necessary thing or not, but I just wanted to clarify that. Second, they say that this plan will cause an influx of students, which will then make us lose soft power. They do not provide any sufficient examples as to how or why this will make us lose soft power. And also, this plan, by giving people more access to college, it will much better equip people with the skills that they need. And then you say that our advantage 1 is non-unique because we don't have any links. That's not true. During my partner's first speech, he actually provided links for both arguments, so that argument should not flow through. Second, advantage 2. Okay. Disadvantage 1. So they say that increasing the number of people with a graduate's degree will decrease the value of that degree. That argument is non-unique because their plan also involves us funding these college educations in the way of increasing Pell Grant funds, and they state that books can cost up to 40% of what people would normally pay for college. So really, they're arguing whether this is better, whether it's better to fund 40% of college or the other 60% of college, and you say that only 14.9% of the U.S. population has a degree. One, you don't say where you got that information, and second, you don't say. Second, our plan will increase the number of people in the U.S. population who have a degree, and if that is true, then the 14.9% is actually extremely low right now, and it needs to be higher. Okay, on to disadvantage 2. So they say that people put down money as a commitment. They would still have to put down money as a commitment because, as you say, books can cost up to 40% of the college fund. Also, you say that this makes it so that anybody can go to college. That is wrong. There are 2 requirements that we have stated in our plan. The first one is that only people who have graduated high school can go to college, and the second is that you have to have at least a 2.5 GPA, which is grade point average. You don't explain how this will make people get a lower quality of education. All you say is that because there will be more people in college, that will make them have a lower quality of education, which they don't provide any links. Therefore, their argument is non-unique and should not go through. Okay, on to disadvantage 3. You say 16% of people are not ready for college, and that this will enable them to go to college. But if you're not ready for college, you probably don't meet one of the requirements in the plan. And even if, say, some of these people did meet the requirements in our plan, they would still get money from your counter plan if it were to be enacted, and these people aren't ready for college. But you're saying, okay, they are saying that our plan shouldn't let these 16% of people go to college because they're not ready, but then their plan is also funding college, so this argument is also non-unique because it applies to both our plan and the counter plan. So that one also should not flow through. You say that funding people.
Yeah, but we fund free college, free books, free report, and free.
Never mind. I'm done.
That's why we need to hammer that out. You just need to hammer that out. So, and use the entire 8 minutes because I need to write a good motivation.
for a brief roadmap of my speech, I'll first go through disadvantage. Well, first I'll go through our counter plan, and I'll go through why Pell Grants are actually, as they say, funding these things that they say we don't fund. And I'll go to disadvantage number 1, disadvantage 2, and advantage number 1 and advantage number 2. So, our counter plan is to increase the Pell Grant funds with the community college funds that in place of the community college funds. So they have stated that Pell Grants will not fund for college, and how there are many other things to consider, but our Pell Grants fund the tuition, the books, and the housing and all those fees. So that's refuted. And now I'll go to our disadvantage number 1. So they say that we don't have a source on how 19.9% of people need a raise, but this is parliamentary debate, and first of all, we're not supposed to be citing our sources, but I'll give the source anyway. So it's the Institute of Education, and also I'll move on to disadvantage number 2, and they say, and so I'll reiterate why this disadvantage number 2 is good, and how they didn't really talk about how this will not flow through, and how the influx of enrollments, but still there are people without jobs is bad. So the motivation of people will be we will target those people, families with lower income, and supply them with the thing that they need to enroll into a college and receive a higher education to prepare them for the workforce. And now moving on to advantage number 1. So first of all, I would like to state that there's 2 contentions on preventing economic collapse, and the loss of soft power is very shaky because the links are full of holes and they do not really connect to the impact. So they somehow go from the fact that unemployment is at 5.3%, but from the economics lecture we have had, that's actually a pretty good rate for now. And they've given a useless source about how the 2008 recession makes U.S. economy very shaky, which has nothing to do with this debate. So they say how qualified people, how this job gives qualified people jobs in companies, so that it will allow the economy to grow. But as my partner has stated, that 20% of people have the required education to just enroll and just perform do the job and endeavor in their career, but they don't because they're not available jobs. So even though you're providing education, they say that it will collapse the economy if we don't, but it won't. So it also better equips people to, and now moving on to their shaky contention on soft power and how this will cause China to become a leading hegemon in the world. So they state that, first of all, I would like to compare their links to the impact. So they say that if we provide more jobs, then we will beat China and America will be the hegemon of the world. But I don't understand how that works. If we just give more jobs, does that absolutely mean that we're going to outgrow China in the economy? And also, since we're outsourcing and all the jobs are going outside of the United States of America, and those jobs are going to China, so we basically have no jobs and no jobs to offer. And the fact that we're having more people graduate is a problem because they won't have jobs later on. But with our counter plan, we're stating that we're giving the correct students who are motivated to get a job and receive the higher education to receive jobs, because they're the ones, as my partner have said, will be an influx of students, but the graduation will stay the same. And they also say how this, they state how because China is a hegemon, and because if we don't provide jobs, then China will, because China is a communist, is communist, then it is bad. But first of all, I'd like to say that China is not communist, and it's actually more of a capitalist state right now, because there are business owners with private businesses, and that's controlling China's industry. And also, this is just a weak contention, and should not be considered because of the weak links and impacts. So now I would like to overview how we should win this debate and go through the impact. So first of all, we can see from there two contentions of economic collapse and losing soft power that they are very weak, and that the links do not result in the impacts, and how we have refuted both of their contentions, and that it shouldn't flow through because it's very weak, and it all depends on, it's very iffy if this is not going to happen. So now I'd like to go through how our contentions support the counterplan, and explain how we have won this debate. Because first of all, as we have stated, it decreases the value of the degree, which they did not agree with. But because we have already provided a source of the Bureau of Labor Services, that with more people graduating and obtaining a degree, then that will decrease the degree value, because with more people that have it, then the less value it is. And this is true, but with our counter plan that targets the correct people who are aiming for a higher education, we can prevent this from happening with the increase of influx of students, but the stagnant number of graduations. And also our disadvantage number 2, it comes to the factor of education, and how funding for free community college contingent on the 2.5 GPA is a waste of money, and how graduation will still stay the same with our plan. And also on a disadvantage number 3, how we put tax on the community and still waste money. And these 3 contentions all should persuade you that the counter plan is the right way, and you should support the mitigation.
Nice job. Okay. Judge, by the end of this speech, I will convince you why the negation should win this debate. Now, the reason that we should win this debate is one of the main reasons that we should win this debate is because we have shown, Judge, that providing free college tuition is not only going to be useless, but is actually going to be detrimental to the welfare of our society. We have shown this because we've used statistics to prove that the increase of graduation, or the increase of graduates that come out of these community colleges is going to decrease the value of the degree, therefore making it entirely useless in the workforce. And if if our job is to help the next generation of innovators and creators find jobs that suit their talents and abilities, then simply giving them an education for which they will have no use is a waste of everybody's time and our money. Now, 20% of the people who come out of these community college programs won't have jobs, because the jobs that we need are highly qualified positions in STEM that we are not going to get in community colleges, though the affirmation has stated this. We must also remember the fact that the factors of free education for everybody are negative, because what happens is that people are going to go into colleges with this ability to do whatever they want to and not take advantage of the resources, because there is nothing on the line for them to succeed. Now, we have also shown that our counterplan solves for the affirmative, because the impacts of the affirmative stated, which, by the way, we have refuted, but they have stated that the economy is going, that if this plan is not enacted, that the economy would be worse. However, not only have we stated that the economy will be worse because we're putting money towards something that's not going to help anybody out in the long run, but we also would like to say that our counterplan solves for this because we are streamlining the funds to the people who need this education. Because people have to apply for Pell Grants, as we stated before, we know that this money is going to cover the costs of an education so they don't have to worry about anything other than keeping their grades up. We know that these people are going to be committed because they've shown they've taken the initiative of applying for the Pell Grant, and we also know that these people are likely to succeed, therefore increasing our economy. So especially in this regard, our counterplan solves for the affirmative. And so on this should be another reason why we win this debate. Now, just to go over some kind of clarifying things, some just issues that have been going around in this debate, there have been issues about the fact that, for example, on the negation or on the affirmations case, they basically state that they make a lot of blanket statements about like U.S. soft power and a lot of kind of these links that are, or a lot of these kind of big jumps that have no links that are not supported, such as what my partner mentioned about the economy collapsing, the resource wars, and the soft power of America decreasing if this plan is not implemented. So these should not flow through. But Judge, the main reason that you should vote in favor of the negation is the fact that we have provided warrants for our claims. We have shown that the plan is not only detrimental, but that there is a way out, and that this way out is our counterplan of providing funds for the Pell Grants, so that we know the kids that we're giving money to are actually going to pay us back in the long term. And so, Judge, because of this fact, because our counterplan solves for this problem, and that there actually is a way out of the debacle that we are in, I strongly urge you to vote in favor of the negation. Thank you.
So before I start my time, I want to do a quick overview of where I'm going to be going with this final speech. First of all, I'm going to be fortifying my two advantages, and after that, I'm going to be going on to address the counter plan and their disadvantages. And after that, I'm going to be continuing on with some impact calculus. So to start, on fortifying my first advantage, they said that we have no links from the quote unquote jump to people having more jobs to preventing economic collapse. So we already know it's common knowledge that with lack of jobs the economy goes down. Just as it is vice versa with when the economy goes down, there are less jobs. So first of all, this their argument does not make any sense, saying that we have none, considering that we have presented internal links, saying that first of all we better the economy and by this we prevent economic collapse. They say that this is completely unrelated. However, we have presented multiple internal links of this. Second of all, fortifying our second advantage. They say, again, that, first of all, in the MO, they stated that China is not communist. We'd just like to clear this up. China went through I think it was a 10-year, a revolution that changed its government system to communism that resulted in the deaths of 70 million people. Saying that China is not communist makes absolutely zero sense and should not be considered in this debate. Okay. Second of all, again, they say that we have no internal links linking the link to the impacts. We have provided this. We say that, first of all, the United States is losing its hegemony to China. And by implementing the plan, we regain our hegemon status, and if the status quo is ignored, then China will become this. We have stated this in our uniqueness argument. They say that we don't provide any internal links, although this statement serves as an internal link. So first of all, I would just like to make the statement that their argument 1, they say that 25% of jobs require a degree, but only 19% of students have a degree. They say that we can't, they say that leaves this 6% middle ground of people who don't have a degree, and actually they say that we have that don't have a degree. However, there are 25% of jobs that require a degree. So this doesn't make any sense, and considering that our plan will increase the amount of graduates, that we will solve this. So up next, they say that they're going to be targeting the supposed right crowd of people who are motivated. I know for a fact that because I go to a 6 to 12 school, I know people who are not motivated simply because they don't want to do the work that it takes, which is exactly what the opposition is advocating for, is that people aren't motivated but they just get education. So these people tend to drop out of high school. I've had multiple instances of friends who drop out of high school because they know that college is too much work. So by targeting the quote-unquote right crowd, the plan is doing this anyway. So now, onto some impact calculus. The only impacts that they provided are very unclear. In fact, it's very hard to say that they provided any impacts at all. However, we provided the impacts of economic collapse and the following, what comes after that. I mean, resource wars and mass poverty that come from economic collapse. We've provided examples, we've provided the impact that communist policies can end up overrunning the international community, leading to very bad instances all over the world. Lastly, in an ethnic world comparison, in the world of the affirmative, you see that there are a lot more educated people. The United States retains its hegemon status, and we are a global leader, which people look up to because of our low unemployment rates. In the negations world, we see a world ravaged by economic crisis. Imagine Greece all over the world. And basically a communist regime ruling over our society. Thank you.
Alright, so I'm going to type up my decision about the feedback in a few minutes.